For 15 seasons, Richard Rawlings and his team at Gas Monkey Garage took beat-up cars and turned them into television gold. Then Discovery Channel abruptly canceled one of its most popular automotive shows. Fans were caught off guard. The cast stayed quiet, and speculation spread fast. So what actually happened? The real story involves a costly business empire, personal friction among the cast, and a network quietly shifting its priorities. Here's a closer look at how America's favorite garage show came to an end. On camera, everything looked great. Cars were flipping. Richard was living the mechanic celebrity life, and ratings stayed strong. But off camera, cracks had already started forming years before the show's final episode. Cracks that would eventually prove fatal. Around 2016, longtime co-star Aaron Kaufman began showing visible discomfort during filming. His usual energy faded, replaced by strained interactions with Richard. People on the production crew noticed a shift in chemistry between the two men who had built the garage together. What had started as small disagreements over how to approach builds grew into something bigger, a genuine clash over the direction of the entire show. The disagreement wasn't really about personalities. It was about philosophy. Aaron had been there since the early, scrappy days, when every build mattered and doing the job right came before doing it fast. He took pride in craftsmanship, and his social media from that period reflected it. Close-up shots of custom fabrication and engine work that showed real skill. Richard, meanwhile, had developed a taste for business expansion. He viewed the show as a springboard for something much larger than a single Dallas garage. Each successful season reinforced his belief that his brand could grow far beyond car builds. He began attending entrepreneur events, networking with other business owners, and speaking publicly about turning Gas Monkey into a full lifestyle brand, one focused on scaling, margins, and growth. That difference in vision played out in small moments the cameras happened to catch. Aaron would push to spend more time perfecting a build. Richard would push to finish on schedule and keep costs down. What audiences read as friendly tension over deadlines was, underneath, a real disagreement about identity. Aaron wanted Gas Monkey known for building the best cars around. Richard wanted to be recognized as a successful entrepreneur who got his start fixing cars. By 2017, Aaron announced he was leaving. Publicly, both men kept things civil, but people in the industry understood it wasn't a simple, friendly parting. Aaron's carefully worded comments about the split still made his reasoning clear. He wanted to pursue work that excited him and pushed technical limits, rather than prioritize what made for good television. His exit marked a turning point. The show lost a dynamic that had made its earlier seasons so compelling, and no amount of clever editing could fully replace it. Viewers noticed the difference the moment season 13 began without him. But losing Aaron was only the first blow. The bigger strain came from somewhere else entirely. Discovery Channel liked what it was seeing in the ratings, and it wanted more episodes, faster. What audiences didn't see was just how grueling that pace actually was for everyone involved. Between 2012 and 2018, the show churned out more than 150 episodes across 15 seasons, not including specials and crossovers with other Discovery programs. Keeping up that output put enormous strain on the entire operation. The workload went far beyond what made it to air. Every episode required extensive planning, several camera crews, and huge amount of footage that had to be filmed, reviewed, and edited down. A single build that might realistically take 3 weeks would generate dozens of hours of raw footage, later compressed into a 42-minute episode. That meant cameras were rolling almost constantly, capturing everything from routine parts runs to manufactured deadline drama. Richard himself was effectively juggling 3 full-time jobs, running the garage, growing his expanding list of businesses, and performing for cameras that followed him everywhere. People who worked with him at the time described stretches of 20-hour days fueled by little more than energy drinks and adrenaline. His social media from that era shows someone constantly on the move, bouncing between meetings, car shows, and garage duties. His staff felt similar pressure. Mechanics were expected to complete difficult builds on unrealistic timelines, while also managing the chaos of a TV production. Cameras rolling, producers asking for retakes, and the knowledge that millions of people would eventually watch their work. They weren't just mechanics anymore, they were performers. Former staff members later described work weeks of 60 to 80 hours during the show's peak. Several left specifically because of burnout, though none of that made it into an episode. Turnover at the shop was notably higher than at a typical repair business, where skilled mechanics tend to stick around for years. Adding to the pressure, producers regularly push for more conflict to keep audiences hooked, sometimes encouraging cast members to redo emotional moments for the cameras. That's fairly standard in reality TV, but it layered even more artificiality onto an already high-stress environment. Mechanics were now doing their real jobs while also acting out storylines designed to boost ratings. Eventually, the manufactured drama stopped landing. By the later seasons, even casual fans could tell something was off. Builds felt rushed, conflicts felt scripted, and the genuine camaraderie of earlier episodes had been replaced by moments that seemed engineered to hit specific story beats. Online communities filled up with complaints about how much the show had changed. And while fans were noticing the show lose its spark, Richard was busy expanding a business that would eventually compete with it for his attention. Richard wasn't satisfied with just having a hit TV show. He wanted an empire, and he pursued it with the same intensity he brought to everything else. Gas Monkey Bar and Grill opened in Dallas in 2013, followed by more locations and a wide range of branded products, including energy drinks, apparel, and licensing deals that put the Gas Monkey logo on everything imaginable. The restaurant concept started strong. Richard imagined a chain blending car culture with nightlife, live music, craft beer, and walls covered in automotive memorabilia. The original Dallas location became a genuine destination for fans of the show. That early success convinced him to expand. A second location opened at DFW Airport in 2014, with another plan for Kansas City, complete with promotional appearances to build buzz ahead of the opening. On paper, this made sense. Richard was using his TV fame to diversify his income beyond any single show. But it also meant his attention was split across an increasing number of ventures. The garage that had made him a household name was becoming just one part of a much larger operation, and fans could feel the shift. Merchandise expanded just as fast. Shirts, hats, stickers, and various accessories, along with licensing partnerships spanning everything from car care products to gaming gear. Each deal made sense on its own, but together they represented a massive time commitment for someone also trying to run a shop and star in a weekly show. The show itself increasingly became a promotional tool for these other ventures. Episodes started featuring casual mentions of the restaurant or plugs for whatever product was launching that month, with the camera lingering on branded merchandise in the background. What had once felt like authentic car culture content began to feel like an extended commercial, and fans noticed, with online discussion turning toward complaints that the show had become more about Richard's business ambitions than the craft of building cars. Not every venture succeeded. The planned Kansas City restaurant never opened despite significant investment and promotion. Expansion costs ran higher than expected, and other markets didn't embrace the concept the way Dallas had. Several product lines quietly disappeared, leaving unsold inventory that represented pure loss. These financial pressures bled into the show itself. Richard needed Fast and Loud to keep performing well, not just for its own sake, but because it drove traffic to his other businesses. Decisions about which bills to feature or which storylines to pursue were increasingly shaped by what would benefit the broader Gas Monkey brand, rather than what made for the best television. While Richard fought to keep his growing business afloat, Discovery was running its own numbers, and those numbers weren't in the show's favor. The TV industry was changing fast during Fast and Loud's run, and Discovery was scrambling to adapt. Streaming was pulling audiences away from cable, forcing the network to rethink its entire lineup. Shows that once delivered dependable ratings were suddenly underperforming as younger viewers cut the cord. The data was blunt. Cable viewership was falling across every age group, but the drop was especially sharp among viewers 18 to 34, precisely the demographic advertisers pay the most to reach. As millions of subscribers switched to Netflix and other streaming platforms, Discovery responded by concentrating its resources on franchises it believed could survive the shift, pouring investment into shows like Gold Rush and Deadliest Catch. Fast and Loud simply wasn't one of the chosen priorities, and Discovery's enthusiasm for it began cooling around 2017. The show was still profitable and pulling solid ratings, but executives increasingly viewed it as a legacy program rather than part of the network's future. Behind closed doors, negotiations between Richard's team and Discovery grew tense. Richard wanted higher pay and more creative control, arguing the show's success earned him better terms. Discovery, under pressure to cut costs, wasn't willing to set that kind of precedent for other talent. Neither side had much patience left for compromise. Discovery had other shows to focus on, and Richard had other ventures that didn't depend on the network at all. Tighter budgets followed, meaning smaller crews and less money for ambitious builds. The show that once tackled rare, high-value restorations was now steered toward cheaper, more common vehicles. Longtime viewers could sense the drop in production value, even if they couldn't quite pinpoint why. In the end, no single blow-up killed Fast and Loud. It ended because everyone involved had essentially taken it as far as it could go, and pushing further risk damaging what they'd built. By 2018, Richard was worn down from juggling too much at once. The chemistry that defined the early seasons never fully returned after Aaron left. Replacement cast members never clicked with Richard the way Aaron had, and fans consistently noticed a difference. Richard had also already achieved what he set out to do. He no longer needed the show the way he had back in 2012. It had done its job, turning him from a garage owner into a nationally known entrepreneur with restaurants, merchandise, and a personal brand strong enough to stand on its own. The show had shifted from passion project to obligation. Discovery, meanwhile, was locked into its own strategic reshuffling. Fast and Loud wasn't part of the network's chosen future. Its ratings had slipped from their peak, and its audience skewed older, the opposite of what executives wanted heading into the streaming era. The economics were unforgiving. Producing an episode cost somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 once crew, insurance, cars, and parts were factored in, while ad revenue and distribution income kept shrinking. When Discovery ran the numbers, continuing the show simply meant tying up money that could go toward newer programming with better prospects. Talks for a potential 16th season never gained real traction. Both sides went through the motions, but the terms Richard's team wanted and what Discovery was willing to offer never lined up. Rather than let it turn into a public dispute, both parties agreed to part ways professionally. There were personal factors, too, that never showed up in any press release. Richard's personal life.